I overheard my neighbor's secret, and now I'm involved. I never expected my quiet apartment building to become the center of drama, but it all started last night around 11 p.m. I was taking my trash out when I heard whisper yelling coming from the stairwell. At first, I thought it was just neighbors arguing, but then I recognized the voices. My upstairs neighbor Michelle and her totally not her boyfriend, co-worker Ryan. She always claimed they were just work friends, but I've seen him come over way too late for that. Michelle kept saying, "You can't just show up unannounced," and he kept saying, "You weren't answering my texts all day." The tone was bad. Like desperate, clingy bad. I was frozen behind the wall because if I walked out, they'd know I was listening, and I swear Michelle already hates me for walking too loudly, so I stayed hidden. Then I heard something I was definitely not supposed to hear. Ryan said, "So he doesn't know I'm the reason you've been working late. You still haven't told him." She immediately shushed him and said, "Stop saying his name out loud, the walls here are thin." And then she said her boyfriend's name. The crazy part, her boyfriend is my downstairs neighbor, Jason. The guy who always holds the elevator for everyone. The guy who bakes cookies at 2 a.m. and leaves them in the lobby. The guy who once helped me carry 4 gallons of water upstairs because my wrist hurt. That guy, the sweetest human being on earth. And apparently, he has no idea what's happening above his head. Ryan sounded jealous, asking her if she was still planning to choose him, and Michelle said, "Just give me a little more time. Everything needs to look natural." At that point, my heart was racing because this wasn't little drama. This was I might accidentally get dragged into this drama. When they finally left the stairwell, I sprinted to my apartment and locked my door like someone was chasing me. This morning, I went downstairs for coffee, trying to pretend I wasn't sitting on nuclear-level tea, when Jason walked into the lobby looking frantic. He asked if I had seen Michelle because she wasn't answering her phone and wasn't at work. I swear I almost cracked right there, but I said no. He sighed, thanked me, and got into the elevator. As soon as the doors closed, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't say a word about last night. You have no idea what's going on." I froze, because the message wasn't from Michelle. It was from Ryan. I didn't sleep after everything that happened. I kept thinking someone was going to knock on my door at 3 in the morning, or that Ryan would try something, or that Michelle would disappear before anyone could figure out what was going on. I left every light on, even the bathroom one, just so the apartment didn't feel dark. Every sound in the building felt amplified. Every footstep in the hallway felt like someone coming to tell me I'd made the wrong choice by staying quiet. The next morning, I checked my peephole before opening the door, even though nobody had knocked. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe some sign that Michelle had actually left like she said she would. Maybe a note she slid under the door. Instead, the hallway was empty, quiet, unchanged. It annoyed me how normal everything looked when things were far from normal. I made coffee I didn't even drink and kept checking the time. Around 9:30, Jason texted me, "Are you home? Something's happening." His messages were usually polite with punctuation. Not this one. His profile picture didn't load at first, and my stomach twisted for no reason I could explain. I told him yes before I could talk myself out of it. He came up a minute later. Not knocking loudly, just a tired, defeated tap like he didn't know whether he should even be here. When I opened the door, he looked worse than yesterday. His shirt was wrinkled like he slept in it, and his eyes were red. He kept looking past me like he expected someone else to be in my apartment. He apologized for showing up unannounced, but he sounded numb, not apologetic. He said he'd gotten a message from Michelle's sister asking if he'd seen her. Apparently Michelle hadn't gone home, hadn't checked in, hadn't contacted anyone. And her sister thought she might be with him. When he said that, I felt sick. Either Michelle was lying about leaving the building safely, or she never got the chance. Instead of answering him, I asked when he saw her last. He said 3 days ago. 3 whole days. That meant the suitcase, and the clothes everywhere weren't from the night I overheard her. They were older. She'd been preparing to leave him longer than I'd realized. Then he asked the question I'd been dreading, whether Michelle had come to talk to me yesterday and if she'd said anything unusual. The way he said unusual told me he already thought there was more happening. He wasn't dumb. He just didn't have the whole picture. I tried to keep it safe. I told him she came by, that she seemed stressed, that she said she needed space. It wasn't a complete lie. Just not the full truth. He kept staring at me like he could tell I was leaving things out. Then he said something I didn't expect. He said he'd seen Ryan outside again early this morning, pacing near the lot, checking his phone, looking up at the building like he expected someone to come out. Jason asked if I knew anything about him. I almost slipped right there, almost told him everything just to get someone else involved. But the memory of Michelle's voice telling me that Jason would get dragged into something dangerous if he knew more stopped me cold. I just shook my head and said I'd only seen him around a few times. Jason didn't look convinced. Before he left, he asked if I could let him know if I saw Michelle. I told him of course, even though neither of us believed she'd magically reappear in the hallway like nothing happened. When he walked out, he looked smaller somehow. Like all the weight he'd been carrying finally crushed him a little. The building suddenly felt too quiet again. I checked my phone constantly, even when it wasn't buzzing. Around noon, I got another message from the unknown number. This one was worse. Just 2 words, she left. No name. No context. No details. I didn't know if it meant she left the building or left permanently. I didn't know if he meant it as reassurance or threat. And I hated that a part of me wondered if he was lying. I didn't respond. That night, I heard something moving in the hallway around 2 in the morning. Not footsteps. More like someone dragging something soft. When I finally got brave enough to look through the peephole, there was nothing there except a small folded piece of paper slid under my door. I stared at it for 5 whole minutes before picking it up. My fingers were shaking when I opened it. It wasn't a letter, just an address written on it. No explanation, no signature, but the handwriting wasn't Ryan's. I'd seen his scrawled threats. This was neater. Rounded letters. Feminine. Michelle. I didn't know why she wanted me to have that address, or what she expected me to do with it. I almost threw it away. But something about the way it was written made me think she wanted me to see something. I didn't go that night, but I didn't sleep either. The next morning, I drove to the address. It was 20 minutes away, an ugly brick building behind a grocery store. The windows were shut with blinds that looked like they'd been broken and bent. The door had a rusted number on it that barely hung on. When I knocked, nobody answered. I tried again. Nothing. I was about to leave when I heard a soft sound from inside, something moving. I pressed my ear to the door and heard breathing. Not heavy, not panicked, just steady enough to tell me someone was there. I almost knocked a 3rd time, but right then I heard footsteps coming from the stairwell behind me. Someone was coming up fast. I didn't stay to find out who. I ran back to my car and didn't look back until I was halfway down the street. I checked my phone as soon as I got home. Another text, "Stay out of this." No number attached like the sender had blocked caller ID. And as soon as I finished reading it, another message came through from Jason asking if I was around. I should have ignored everything. Instead, I told him to come up. When he walked in, he just stood in my living room staring at my coffee table like he wasn't fully present. Then he said he'd gone into Michelle's apartment. That her suitcase was still there. Her clothes were still there. Her purse was still on the counter. Everything but her phone. He said the only thing out of place was a broken picture frame on the floor. The picture inside was of them together, but only her side of the glass was shattered. He asked again if Michelle said anything to me. Not in an accusing way. In a desperate way. like I was the last thread he could hold on to. I thought about lying again, pretending she didn't say anything meaningful, pretending I didn't know anything about Ryan, pretending I hadn't gotten messages, pretending she didn't leave me an address. But something in his face cracked me open. He looked like a man trying to make himself numb so he didn't have to feel everything at once. Fear, heartbreak, confusion, guilt for not noticing something sooner. So I told him, not everything, but the truth that mattered. I told him Michelle was scared, that she didn't want him dragged into something she couldn't get out of, that she'd planned to leave because it was the safest way to protect him. I didn't mention Ryan's threats or the texts or the fact that someone was following me. I just told him Michelle had been trying to disappear to keep him safe. Jason didn't speak for almost a full minute. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. Safe from what? I didn't know how to answer. I told him I didn't have all the details, just that Michelle got involved with someone she shouldn't have and didn't know how to break away. He looked destroyed, like the words weren't shocking, just confirmation of something he already feared. He thanked me barely above a whisper and left without another word. I thought that was the last of it. I was wrong. That night, my fire alarm started beeping for no reason. When I dragged a chair over to check it, I saw a small folded piece of paper taped behind it. I pulled it down with shaking hands. It wasn't from Michelle. Just one line written in sharp, heavy ink, "You should have kept quiet." No threats. No signature. But the meaning was clear. I called building security, but by the time they came upstairs, whoever taped it there was long gone. 2 days later, police cars showed up outside the building. People were looking out windows, recording on their phones. I opened my door and saw officers going upstairs with one of the property managers, heading toward Michelle's floor. I opened my phone and saw the news. A woman matching Michelle's description had been found unconscious near the old brick building I visited. She was alive, but barely. No ID. No phone. Left behind a dumpster. Jason found out before I could tell him. He was already gone by the time I went downstairs. I didn't hear from him for 3 days. Then he knocked on my door. Not politely. Not softly. He was shaking, breathing hard, eyes red. He said the police questioned him. They questioned Michelle's sister. They questioned co-workers. They questioned everyone. Then he said something that felt like ice in my veins. They asked if anyone else might have known she was in danger. Someone she might have confided in. He looked at me like he already knew the answer. I didn't speak. He asked if I had anything else to tell him. Anything I'd left out. Anything I'd seen. Anything she'd given me. I told him no. Because the truth was dangerous. For him. For me. For everyone. He didn't believe me. But he nodded like he understood why I lied. Before he left, he said one last thing. I don't know what you're involved in. But for your own sake, stop now. He walked away without looking back. I closed the door, locked it, then went to the kitchen drawer and pulled out the folded address Michelle left me. I stared at it a long time, wondering if it mattered anymore. Wondering if it meant something I still hadn't realized. Then my phone buzzed. Another unknown message. Just 3 words, "She's awake now." And I knew this wasn't over.